Right, as far as I see it, there are 5 main factors that potentially make a game the worst on its system. They are: number 1, it has a stupid name. Yes, I know this may sound a bit of a stretch, but I have good reasons, so hear me out on that one. Number 2, everyone who played it hated it, including the magazines. Number 3, it looks blimmin' awful on the box and even worse in the game. Number 4, it plays and sounds even worse than it looks. And number 5, it was a standalone full pricer. Yep, they actually had the nerve to charge full price for this bastard. You see, a lot of games for the Commodore 64 hit some of these factors, but rarely did they hit them all. A-Team, for example. The name is okay, but it wasn't a full pricer. But everyone did think it was a big pile of steaming unlicensed dog turds. I mean, why does it have the Star Wars theme on the menu? And why are you shooting the A-Team as opposed to playing as them? Chuck Norris may as well have been a straight port from the VCS. But come on, it's Chuck Norris. Not really a name cooler than the daddy of motorbike rockets, is there? Plus, the cartridge for some systems had 2 games on it, one on each end, and was brilliantly called a double ender. How can that be a worse game? Bionic Granny, so shit to play, but come on, admit it. You're going to buy that game on its name alone. And it was only a couple of quid. Plus, look at the artwork. So many questions as Granny dressed up as John Motson laser beams 2 siblings who both have very dubious haircuts. Now that's a fringe. Highlander. Probably the worst movie licensed game to ever exist, but graphically it's not that bad, is it? And come on, it's a kind of magic on the SIB chip? Whoa! And yeah, you might have bought this game on name alone if you enjoyed the film, so the name is pretty cool, even though the game is less fun than slicing off your buttocks and sitting in vinegar. So you get what I'm saying, all these things add up together to an extravaganza of shitness, a plethora of crapness, a definite answer to that age-old question: what is the worst game for the Commodore 64? And more importantly, why is it the worst game for the Commodore 64? So let's break it down one by one. Number 1, its name. Lee Enfield and the Tournament of Death. Have you ever seen a more conflicting title to a game? It sounds like your best mate at school has got involved in something well over his head. It might as well have been called Gary Evans drinks bleach for a dare, or Simon Phillips and his homemade bed of nails. The juxtaposition of these 2 things make the name choice seem utterly bewildering. To add to this confusing tale, the game is actually based on a series of comics and books, and even a film and later an animated series revolving around the adventures of our French protagonist Bob Durrain, as created by the French-speaking Belgian author Henri Vernes. I presume the success of the books and the comics was possibly a cheap license for French gaming house Infogrames, who could push out lots of titles based on his many adventures. And that they did. Bob Morane Chevalerie 1? Yeah, definitely got that wrong. Which was renamed to the game title we are addressing today in other non-Bob loving regions. Bob Morane Science Fiction 1, which was the precursor to Tournament of Death on the C64, but was called Lee Enfield Space Ace. Bob Morane Jungle 1, which only came out for strong French home computers like the CPC, the Thompson, PC and the Atari ST. And Bob Morane Oceans 1, which came out for all of the same as Jungle apart from the Thompson, but also came out on the Amiga as Operation Neptune or Project Neptune depending on where you lived. Now some websites suggest it did also come out for the Commodore 64, but info on that is sketchy at best. So the 2 Lee Enfield games look like the only ones that made it, and both were supposedly under the Time Trouble Shooter series, which was then only 2 games, and didn't get any of the others that popped up elsewhere in the seemingly confusing name choices. So yeah, you understand all that? You got it? Confusing and shit right, and not a great start. I mean, maybe Lee Enfield was used because it was the name of a bolt action rifle dating from around the 20th century, but today it certainly gives off more Harry Enfield vibes than rifle ones.
Look.
Number 2. Everyone who played it hated it, including the magazines. Yep, when I say everyone, I mean everyone. If you enjoy playing Commodore 64 games or reliving the nostalgia for them in 2024, you are probably aware of the website lemon64.com. Here you can vote out of 10 on any of the 6,873 games in their database. Letod, or LETOD, as I'm going to abbreviate it from now on, gets a lovely 1.7 out of 10 here, and a nice picture of a shit. Here are some of the better comments from the lovely Lemon64 community.
A coin toss as to which of these Enfield games are worst. Just avoid at all costs.
Bravo, Info Caca. The goal of asking for money for this unplayable shite, it truly beggars belief.
Now, I've no clue what this chap was on, but we'll go on regardless.
I believe this game was the result of Nazi experiments to turn children into snakes. It's so bad that it smells of shame.
Yes, I'm guessing not a fan then.
Lee Enfield was a standard make of rifle used by British soldiers in the early 20th century.
See, I told you.
P.S. The game does suck doody caca.
It does indeed. The magazines that reviewed it were just as damning, honestly, scoring just 1 out of 10 in Commodore User. To start with, the playing area takes up a mere quarter of the screen. The rest of the display shows 2 rather glum-looking people staring on at Lee's effort to rescue the shroud. The graphics in that quarter screen playing area would be slated on the Spectrum, let alone the 64. Lee Enfield looks like a large blue block with 2 white sticks for arms. The rooms are yellow and do wonders to disguise Lee from your view. Zap magazine really goes for the jugular. Not sure I've read a more damning review. First impressions are of instant disgust as you realise that the playing area takes up a huge quarter of the screen. The rest taken up by a stupid kid's drawing of a knight in putrid armour. Mind you, this flaccid excuse of a picture seems almost good when you take a look at what's in the playing screen. Vile, gaudy blocks of colour swill around in an aimless, carefree manner, evoking an instant feeling of nausea. The gameplay stirs the bile in a similar way as Lee, fashionably dressed in lurid Lego bricks, jerks unresponsively around the landscape. Examining objects is a joke. Manoeuvring him close enough to one is difficult enough, but they're so badly drawn you can't tell what they are anyway. The final insult is the price tag. Number 3. It looks blibbing awful on the box and more importantly in the game. Okay, so the name is bollocks and everyone hates it, but what does it look like? Well, let's start with the box art, and yeah, it's pretty generic and underwhelming. There is Lee all dressed up as a knight with a castle behind him on a hill, and that's about it. It's hardly going to catch your eye in WH Smith's, is it? Really bland. But what is super interesting here is the back cover. The Commodore 64 version is showing the Atari ST screenshots. Did that used to happen a lot? I mean, I know it did with Specky games, but surely C64 games look good enough to show off. When the game was made a budget release, they even knocked the stupid Lee Enfield name off the cover. Oh, the shame. And then there's the look of the actual game. Spectrum comparisons are probably fair, but they also seem to have taken the Commodore's sometimes chunky sprites to the max in the smallest screen estate since this game that I did in this video a little while ago. Links up and down below. We are treated to an 8-year-old's drawing of Lee that is bigger than the actual fucking playing area. Now, this may be down to the shitty sprites being as small as possible, as the baddies are almost unrecognisable. I think that's some sort of bear. Green snot sometimes follows you around, and if you're really lucky, what can only be described as other blob knights who look for a fight from a distance will appear. Wave your pathetic stick arms around long enough and they will soon be brown mush. It's horrid. Even squinting doesn't help. Lee himself is a faceless white blockhead of a man with a black Lego haircut and shit arms. It almost looks like they were about to release the game and 20 minutes before shipping it they thought, we forgot to include Lee. Quick, draw something. Anything. So yeah, they pretty much did. Number 4. It plays and sounds even worse than it looks. So what's our poor man Steve from Minecraft like to move? Well, put it this way, I was playing on a USB gamepad and I changed to keyboard as I thought the gamepad might be broken. Sometimes he doesn't stop walking. This is incredibly annoying when opening crates to help find stuff to help you progress. Moving through the rooms is a seemingly random affair, with exits sometimes working and sometimes not. According to some instructions I did find, pressing the fire button and down can lead to a secret passage, but good shitting luck finding them. Fighting is also equally random and tedious. In a Daily Thompson's decathlon style, it seems waggling the joystick left and right whilst holding the fire button is the sure way to defeat your enemies, no matter if they hit you from the sides or above or below. I've no idea what the bars each side of the screen really represent, but the more you waggle, the more of the bar you get until either you or your opponent is brown mush, or you witness that strange animation of you whizzing around the screen. It's like it's taunting you upon death. Look how fast this game could have been if we actually put some effort in. It's really nasty and awful controls aside, just a mirandering around the castle looking for things to unlock doors to carry on mirandering is all that this really is, and it's all fairly meh. All the while you're doing this, the half-baked tune repeats to drill into your subconsciousness and confirm to your brain that you are in fact a moron for playing this. If you do manage to stay alive long enough, you are treated to some better tracks, which are quite possibly the best part of the game. Number 5. It was a standalone full pricer. And the coup de grace to all of this is, yep, the price. According to Zap magazine, this retailed for just shy of £10 on tape and 15 quid on disc. That's almost a whopping £42 for this on disc in today's money. Can you imagine the absolute despair if you got this home? It's an absolute scandal of a game. So, come on then. Can you think of a worse Commodore 64 game that hits all these 5 factors? I'll sit and wait for your comments, because if there is something worse, you can bet your life on it, I'm going to play it. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.